Picture yourself sitting comfortably in your favorite chair one evening, maybe after dinner, feeling that slow creep of discomfort in your legs or feet again. The kind that starts as a faint pins and needles and builds into something warmer and more nagging that keeps you from fully relaxing. You try crossing your ankles differently, or rubbing your calves, but it doesn't quite go away, and you wonder why it always seems to pick the quiet times to show up stronger. What if a good portion of that ongoing irritation isn't locked in forever because of age alone or some irreversible condition, but is actually being fed and made louder by simple, routine things you do every single day without even noticing? For more than 20 years now, I've dedicated my work to understanding how nerves work in folks as they get older and to helping people just like you who deal with neuropathy day in and day out. I've sat across from hundreds of men and women who've shared the same kind of stories. How the burning in their souls makes every step feel heavy. How the numbness turns simple tasks like buttoning a shirt into a careful operation. Or how those sudden sharp zaps in the toes or fingers catch them off guard and leave them wincing. It's heartbreaking to hear how much it wears people down when nothing seems to bring lasting relief. Yet through all that time listening and studying, one thing stands out clearly, and the evidence from respected places like Harvard Medical School, the Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins backs it up strongly. What most doctors and articles tell people about neuropathy misses a crucial part. Your nerves aren't just passive victims of time or disease. They're alive and responsive. They pick up on the surroundings inside your body and the small choices you make repeatedly. The everyday patterns that feel completely normal can either quietly help keep your nerves steadier and less irritated, or, without meaning to, pile on tiny stresses that add up and turn mild symptoms into something much harder to live with over the years. I thought we'd take this nice and slow today, like we're just chatting over coffee with plenty of time. In the time we spend together, I'll walk you through 7 surprising but very common habits that might be quietly feeding your neuropathy symptoms right now. Even better, I'll lay out the straightforward, realistic changes you can try that help settle those nerves down, get more steady blood reaching them, and dial back the pain and strange sensations so your days feel a little lighter and easier. All of this comes straight from careful research done at some of the best medical centers out there, so you know these suggestions have been tested and thought through. If you don't mind, before we go any further, would you mind typing just your age down in the comments? It gives me a better sense of who I'm talking with and lets me keep everything aimed right at where you are in life. When we wrap up, you'll see much more clearly why one person with the same neuropathy diagnosis might keep getting worse, while another slowly starts feeling steadier and more like themselves again. You'll know exactly how you can put yourself in that second group, the one that experiences real, noticeable forward movement, instead of just bracing for more decline. So many people hear that neuropathy is something that just happens with age, and then keeps progressing no matter what you do. They accept it as an unstoppable slide downhill. But the big truth that doesn't get said enough is this: your nerves are constantly paying attention to their surroundings. The little routines you follow every day, often without a second thought, can either give your nerves gentle, ongoing support, or accidentally chip away at their comfort in ways that build up quietly but powerfully. Stick with me a bit longer because toward the end I'll talk about one habit that's almost universal for folks over 60, something so routine that hardly anyone links it to their nerve discomfort until they see the connection. By the time we're finished, you'll walk away with a clear, practical plan to start giving your nerves the kind of daily attention that can make a genuine difference starting right now. Let's take a gentle step back and look at what's actually going on inside as the years add up. Things that aren't always explained in simple terms. When you reach your 60s and 70s, your body goes through 4 main changes that touch neuropathy in direct ways. Think of your nerves like fine, sensitive electrical cables running everywhere, sending signals that let you feel, move, and stay balanced. For those signals to stay clear and steady, the cables need a reliable stream of oxygen and nutrients brought right to them by your bloodstream. The blood vessels act as the delivery system, but as time passes, those vessels tend to stiffen a little. They don't stretch and open as easily as before, so the flow slows down some, and the nerves end up getting a bit less of what keeps them strong and calm. Researchers at Johns Hopkins kept track of more than 1,200 grown-ups for 5 full years, and what they found was eye-opening. People whose blood moved more slowly through the arteries in their lower legs ended up 52% more likely to have their foot numbness and burning sensations get noticeably worse. That percentage really highlights how much nerve comfort depends on keeping good circulation going. You might already make a point of walking every day, and that's wonderful. It helps your heart, your mood, and so much more. But for a lot of us, the bigger issue isn't the walk itself. It's all the hours spent sitting still afterward. Whether it's settling in to watch your favorite show, taking a drive to the store or to see family, sitting with a book or magazine, or even doing a crossword at the table, those long periods without moving press down on nerves and slow the blood from circulating freely. The nerves get held in one spot too long, squeezed gently but steadily, and they don't get refreshed with oxygen-rich blood the way they need. The easiest way to help is to build in little breaks. Every 30 to 45 minutes, just stand up for a minute or two. While you're up, slowly roll your ankles around in circles a few times one way and then the other, or do some gentle calf pumps by rising onto your toes and lowering back down softly. If you have the space, take a slow 2-minute stroll through your rooms. Those short bursts get the blood moving again, take pressure off the nerves, and give them a quick sigh of relief. If you've ever stood up after sitting a while and felt that rush of buzzing or prickling in your feet, or maybe your feet felt heavy and asleep until you wiggled them, go ahead and type "wake up" in the comments. I bet a lot of you know exactly what I mean because it's so common. Now let's talk about something that catches almost everyone off guard, even people who don't have diabetes. It's not just steady high blood sugar that bothers nerves over the long haul. The quick ups and downs from meals do almost as much harm. Imagine eating a big plate of spaghetti, a donut with coffee, or even a large piece of fruit by itself. Your blood sugar climbs rapidly. That fast jump makes the areas around the nerves swell a little and sets off oxidative stress, which you can think of as tiny sparks of inflammation happening deep inside the cells. Then, a couple hours later, the sugar level drops sharply, and suddenly the nerves don't have enough fuel to keep running smoothly. That energy shortage makes them fire pain signals more loudly. When this pattern repeats day after day, maybe with breakfast, lunch, snacks, dinner, it wears the nerves down further and turns neuropathy symptoms up gradually but steadily. Scientists at Harvard Medical School looked into this carefully and discovered that older adults who worked on keeping their blood sugar steadier saw their nerve irritation and burning feelings decrease by 35% after just 8 weeks. That's a solid improvement, and it comes mostly from small tweaks in how you combine foods and how much you eat at once. The practical way to do it is to make sure every time you have carbohydrates, you pair them with some protein or a bit of healthy fat. For instance, spread peanut butter on your apple instead of eating it plain, add a couple eggs to your morning toast, or stir some grilled chicken or beans into your rice or pasta. Instead of 3 big meals, try spreading things out into smaller portions every few hours. And it's helpful to cut back on eating large amounts of refined carbs by themselves. Things like a big bowl of sugary cereal, white bread sandwiches without much else, or soda and cookies. When your blood sugar holds more even, the nerves avoid those swelling episodes and energy crashes, so the burning fades, the tingling softens, and you simply feel more comfortable from morning to night. Even the shoes, or lack of them, around your house can matter more than you might guess. A lot of folks love kicking off their outdoor shoes and padding around barefoot, or in those soft, flexible house slippers, because it feels cozy and natural after being in laced-up shoes all day. But when nerves are already sensitive, that minimal support can quietly make things worse. Without a sturdy sole underneath, every step compresses the nerves in your feet and ankles unevenly. There's less cushion to soak up the small impacts from walking on hard floors, so pressure builds on tender spots. The soft tissues and connective layers around the nerves get tugged and strained over and over, which tends to ramp up the burning sensation, make numbness spread or deepen, and turn nighttime discomfort into something that wakes you up or keeps you tossing. The Mayo Clinic ran a study in 2022 that put numbers to this. Seniors who started wearing supportive shoes or well-structured slippers inside their homes, even just for everyday moving around, reported 43% less foot pain after only 6 weeks. That's a big drop from changing one small thing you do all day long at home. When you're picking something for indoors, look for a firm sole that gives good arch support, so your foot doesn't collapse inward. Nice padding under the heel and forefoot to soften impacts, and a toe box that's roomy enough that your toes can spread naturally without rubbing or squeezing. You don't have to wear clunky athletic shoes from morning till night. Just having a pair of decently built slippers or lightweight supportive shoes for home use can protect those nerves and bring real relief that you feel with every step. Hydration is another area that's so easy to let slide, especially as we age. Our thirst signal gets quieter over the years. So many people run on the low side of fluids without really noticing they're thirsty. But even that mild, ongoing underhydration hits nerves hard, because water is essential for keeping electrical signals moving smoothly along the nerve pathways, for carrying nutrients to the cells, and for flushing out waste products that can irritate tissues if they build up. When fluid levels dip even a little, the nerve impulses start acting erratic. They might misfire or slow down, which shows up as more frequent tingling, hotter burning patches, muscle cramps that come out of nowhere, or that fidgety, restless feeling in your legs that makes it hard to settle. The fix is simple and doesn't require anything fancy. Just make sipping water a steady habit all through the day instead of waiting for thirst or chugging a big glass now and then. Keep a bottle or glass nearby and take small drinks regularly, maybe every hour or so. A good way to know you're on track is to check that your urine stays a pale, straw-like yellow most of the time. If it gets darker, that's your body's gentle reminder to drink a bit more. For some folks, especially if the weather is warm or you've been a little more active, adding a pinch of electrolytes from a powder or low-sugar drink can help the water stay in your system better and support nerve function more effectively. But always run that by your doctor first to make sure it fits with your other health needs. When pain flares up badly, the medications your doctor prescribes can feel like a real blessing. They take the sharp edge off so you can get through the day, do your errands, visit with family, or just rest without being overwhelmed. But if pills become the only thing you lean on, it can sometimes hold back the chance for deeper, longer-lasting improvement. A few types of pain medicines can gradually reduce how much blood reaches the nerves, while others mainly cover up the signals without doing anything about the irritation underneath. The best approach is to see medication as one useful piece of a bigger picture. The real strength comes from building habits that improve blood flow, deliver steady nutrition, keep you well hydrated, and lower overall nerve stress. Once those foundations are solid, the medicines tend to work better, and in many cases people find they need less of them as time goes on because the nerves themselves are calmer. Your body does a lot of its repair work while you sleep, and that includes giving your nerves a chance to settle and heal. Unfortunately, some of the ways people position themselves at night can keep nerves pinched or compressed for hours without anyone realizing. If you curl up tightly with knees pulled high, if heavy quilts press your feet into a pointed down shape, or if your hips and knees bend in ways that squeeze tissues, you can wake up with numbness that's worse, burning that's more intense, and stiffness that makes getting out of bed feel like a chore. Little changes can open up a lot of relief. Place a pillow under your knees when lying on your back or between them. If you're on your side, to keep everything aligned softly, make sure your feet stay in a neutral position where the toes point neither up nor sharply down, and swap heavy blankets for lighter layers so nothing weighs on your legs or feet. Those small nighttime adjustments let your nerves rest properly through the hours of sleep, so you often wake feeling looser, with less of that morning flare-up, and ready to start the day more comfortably. Then there's stress, which sneaks in and makes everything feel bigger. When worry or tension hangs around for long periods, your body keeps cortisol levels higher, which tightens blood vessels a bit and sends less blood to your hands and feet. At the same time, your nervous system gets tuned to be extra sensitive, so signals that might normally stay in the background suddenly feel sharp and bothersome. The good news is that simple, gentle ways to dial things back can make a noticeable difference. Whenever you catch yourself tensing up, try taking 3 or 4 slow, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold briefly, then exhale longer through your mouth. Do some easy seated stretches, like rolling your shoulders or gently reaching your arms overhead. Spend a quiet minute noticing what's around you, the feel of the chair, the sound of birds outside, or a pleasant memory. Or just sit and think about things you're grateful for. Those calm moments tell your whole system it's safe, bring cortisol down, improve flow to the extremities, and soften how intensely pain registers. Folks who make a habit of these little resets often notice far fewer sudden spikes in their nerve discomfort. Putting it all together, you can see that neuropathy almost never gets worse from just one thing going wrong. It's the slow buildup of several ordinary daily patterns: sitting for hours at a stretch, blood sugar swinging up and down, going without proper foot support at home, not drinking enough water consistently, depending too heavily on medication without other supports, sleeping in positions that press on nerves, and letting stress simmer. That tips things toward more pain and less comfort. But the hopeful side is just as true. When you gently adjust even a few of those patterns in a nerve-friendly direction and keep at it, you give your nerves the steady, kind attention they need to become less reactive and more stable. I want to tell you about Margaret. She was 68 the first time we met. For years, she'd had this persistent burning in the bottoms of her feet that got worse at night, toes that went numb so walking felt wobbly, and sleep that was broken night after night by the discomfort. When she sat down in my office, her eyes were tired, and her voice was quiet but full of frustration. She said, "Doctor, I've done it all. I've seen specialists, taken the pills they gave me, cut out sweets, tried every cream and soak. Nothing touches this burning. It's like my own body is punishing me, and I'm exhausted from fighting it every day." We went over her routines together: what she ate, how long she sat, what she wore around the house, how she slept, how much water she drank, how she handled stress. Then we started the Nervo protocol slowly and carefully, making sure each piece fit her life. We focused first on getting up and moving a little every so often to keep circulation going, sipping water regularly throughout her day, pairing her meals to avoid sugar spikes, switching to supportive slippers even just indoors, using pillows to keep her legs comfortable at night, and practicing a few minutes of slow breathing when she felt the tension build. 4 weeks later, when she came back, I could tell something had shifted before she even opened her mouth. Her face looked brighter, her shoulders were looser. She told me the burning had dropped by around 60%. It wasn't gone, but it felt like someone had lowered the flame from high to barely there. For the first time in ages, she was sleeping all the way through the night without waking in pain, and the stiffness that used to make mornings slow and painful had mostly faded. What touched me deepest was how she described the change inside. "I feel hope again, doctor. I used to dread going to bed because I knew the burning would keep me up. Now I look forward to resting, and in the morning I actually want to get up and move around. I don't feel like my nerves are my enemy anymore." Seeing that move from feeling trapped and discouraged to hopeful and in control is one of the most rewarding parts of this work, and it happens again and again when people give their nerves consistent, gentle support. Then there's Robert, 72 years old, a retired fellow who always enjoyed being on the go, gardening, walking the neighborhood, visiting grandkids. But over time, he'd developed steady tingling in both hands that made holding tools tricky, plus sharp electric-like shocks in his feet with every step. He was on pain medication every day, but it wasn't enough. When he came in, he spoke softly, almost defeated. "I used to love getting out and doing things, but now every step hurts like needles. I'm scared pretty soon I'll need a cane or worse, and I'll just have to sit all the time. I miss feeling normal." We brought in the Nervo protocol with extra care on adding those short movement breaks during his day, making sure he stayed hydrated well, wearing supportive footwear at home, adjusting how he positioned himself for sleep, and weaving in some calm breathing when stress crept up. 6 weeks later, his pain score had gone from a 7 out of 10 down to a 3. He could walk much farther without that stabbing feeling. His balance felt surer on uneven ground, and he was back to handling everyday things independently. Best of all, he started taking short walks with his family again, something he'd stopped because it hurt too much. He told me, "I didn't think I'd get this much back. It's like I have parts of my old life returning." Stories like his remind me how powerfully daily habits can shift the course of neuropathy symptoms. Margaret and Robert both illustrate the same encouraging reality. Even with age and health conditions in the mix, the way you care for your nerves every day can make a huge difference in whether the symptoms stay intense or begin to quiet down and let you live more fully. Now I'd like to walk you through the exact protocol I use with patients. It's called Nervo, and each letter points to one key area that helps nerves feel better. N is for nutrition and keeping blood sugar steady. The goal here is to avoid those fast rises and crashes that irritate nerves. Always pair carbs with protein or healthy fat, like putting almond butter on celery sticks, adding cheese to whole grain crackers, or having salmon with your potatoes. Go for smaller meals spread out rather than big ones that load up sugar fast, and try to skip eating lots of refined carbs by themselves. White rice alone, pastries, sugary cereals. The Harvard research showed this kind of eating pattern reduced nerve irritation and burning by 35% in 8 weeks among older adults. Start by looking at one meal a day and adding that protein or fat pairing, then build from there. E stands for eliminating things that stress or compress nerves. This means cutting back on barefoot walking or flimsy slippers at home because they let too much pressure hit sensitive spots. Switch to slippers or shoes with firm soles for arch support, good cushioning under the foot, and plenty of room in the toes. The Mayo Clinic found that making that change indoors led to 43% less foot pain in 6 weeks. Also keep an eye on long sitting sessions or sleep positions that pinch. Break them up with movement or pillows.